All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. Let's get some comments up. Hey, Rochelle. And let's also mute some devices. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. All right, looks like we are up and running. I can see comments. Oh, I should probably click on this one too so I can see the comments over there. And we are good to go. All right, welcome everybody. Happy InDesign Tuesday. It's that time of week once again where I get to share some InDesign love, some InDesign goodness, so that you guys can check out some new things that you may not be aware of. And hello again, Sandra from Mary, Florida. And Mark and Rochelle, welcome on YouTube, and Victoria and Tanette. Michelle, Cindy, welcome on Facebook. So I think I covered all the ones I saw so far, but as more people come in, or if you're watching this on the replay, thanks for watching the replay. And of course, thanks for joining me live if you're live here today, including Eddie and Grassroots Forum. All right, so with that said, what am I doing today that I didn't do last time? Last time I did, actually it was 2 streams ago, I think, not interactive, but I did how to animate InDesign. So that was having objects appear, float in, float in. I'm trying to remember what they were. Yeah, appear along a path, and come up from different sides. So those were just all animation tips and tricks that you could do inside of InDesign. But that's not really what this is about today. Today is more about whereas those were more visual things that just, can please the user's eye when you look at the document. This is more about the user actually clicking and interacting with your document. So that's the difference between animating InDesign, visuals that just do things, versus interactivity, where the user actually clicks on things and does things in your document. Now, you might be thinking, well, isn't InDesign for print? Like, it's a print document. How will people interact with it? True. InDesign is probably one of the, if not the most, it is the most popular page layout program for print design, but it also has the ability to export or publish online, as well as export out PDFs. I'm going to get to the whole PDF thing towards the end, but we're going to concentrate all of this on the interactivity. I'll tell you what works online, meaning in a browser, versus what works only in a PDF. So let's get to it. I'm going to switch over to my computer so you guys can see what I'm doing. I've got an InDesign document already open this time. Normally I like to start from scratch, but in this case we're going to work with a catalog called the Puralist Outdoor Adventure Catalog. That's it's got some design stuff, so you don't have to see me create a lot of just basic things from scratch. You know how, by this point, if you watch me, you know how to place images, you know how to type text, you know how to do those things. So this is more about how to do the interactive part. So let's scroll down to one of the pages here. I'm going to start off simple. One of the things I'm going to have you do, just so it'll make it easier for you, whether you're following along now or whether you're going to be doing this in the future, is that you want to switch to the digital publishing workspace. So I have a workspace called Terry White, but the digital publishing workspace is the one that I started the Terry White workspace with. So I went to digital publishing first and then just simply customized it to have the additional things I wanted. So if I go to digital publishing, that's what it looks like. You get animation, timing, media, which we didn't really talk about last time, but those are the 3 things that you would do for animating. And then everything else below that would be used for interactive. So object states, buttons and forms, hyperlinks. We're not going to really do liquid layout today, but those will be the interactive things. All right, so let's do the first interactive thing. Let's bring up the hyperlinks panel. If you zoom in on some text, and let's say that we want, it's made of waterproof wax Codra nylon. Well, let's say there's a site, maybe there is, maybe there isn't, called Codra.com, and I want people to be able to click on the word Codra or tap on the word Codra to go to that website. So to do that, I would just grab my type tool, select whatever text I want the hyperlink to be. I'm already in the hyperlinks panel. And if I just type in Codra.com and hit return, it will then turn that into a hyperlink. And you can, of course, choose what your style of hyperlinks would look like. So the minute you add a hyperlink, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, let me bring up the panel that I wasn't planning on showing. But let's go to the actually styles panel. Let's go to paragraph styles. And I believe the minute you do that, it's either a paragraph or character style. Yeah, it creates a hyperlink character style. So the minute you add a hyperlink to your document, boom, it adds that style so that you can go customize what you want your hyperlinks to look like. All right, so by default, blue underline, that's what a hyperlink is. And another thing that's kind of cool here is it tells you what the word is that you highlighted, and it shows green that site is out there. Like it did a quick check of that, at least that domain, to see that that domain does exist. Now, it may not be for this nylon. I'm not going to go there because it could be something bad, but that domain does exist. That's what the green is. And it's not saying that the site is correct. It's just saying, yeah, there's a site there that matches that domain you typed in. So it may not be the right domain. It's not saying it's green means it's the one you want. It just means green, yes, that domain works. All right, so what if you wanted to do it on an actual object or a photo? Same thing. You would select the photo, go to your hyperlinks panel, select it as an object, and you can either add the hyperlink you already did or type in a new one. So I could say backpack.com, and then now that image, see, it says that this is 0158.jpg now has that hyperlink. And that one did not turn green, so that would be one I'd want to verify that, hey, is that going to the right place? Maybe, maybe not. Let me try another one. Let's try adobe.com. That should work. And see, that one turned green. So I can't believe backpack.com is not taken. What? Let me go buy a domain real quick. But anyway, it just lets me know that that one is working. All right. Do we have interactive HTML5 output in this? Yes and no. You have publish online, which is HTML5, but you don't get code. So you don't get HTML5 code from an InDesign document. InDesign can do some web things, but it's not a web authoring tool. All right, so with that said, hyperlinks, self-explanatory, whether it's text or an object, you can add a hyperlink to it. And then once this document is output, someone clicks on that, they will be able to go to that site or go to that site. All right, next up, what if you want to give users something similar for a print design? So for example, here is a website that talks about this chair. And this website is visible, obviously, because this was originally a print document. And therefore, Banner is asking, is there any way to change the default hyperlink style? Meaning, so let's say you want it to be green, so it will always be green from now on. Not that I know of, because the style doesn't get created until you actually use it. So I don't know that there's a way to change the default style permanently. You can, of course, change it for the document. So every new one you create, therefore, after that will be whatever you want. But to say, InDesign, I no longer want blue, I want green, or I want orange, or don't want a color, or I don't want an underline. I don't know that there's a way to do that from here on out for every new document, so to speak. All right, but anyway, back to this. So this was the visual hyperlink for this. And, we can see where we're going here. It says, scan this code to browse the gear online. So this would be more, if you were going to make this interactive for online, well, then you would just make this a hyperlink. Just like we did before, you'd be done. But if you still want to keep a print version, or you're going to print a version as well, and people can't tap on a piece of paper and go to a hyperlink, but what they can do is scan a QR code. So for example, we can go in and highlight this text. There we go, copy it. And then I'm going to select I already have a frame here, but you create a frame if you didn't already have one. And I'm going to go up to the object menu where I have, you guessed it, built in the ability to generate a QR code. And Anne-Marie's in the house and she answered the HTML5 question. Like I said, it's not built in, but she's pointing to a plugin that you could do it with. So thanks, Anne-Marie. All right, so let's generate QR code. And I already had this from before, but you'd paste it in or type it in. Now there are different types of QR code and it defaults to plain text. That's not the one you want. You want to switch to web hyperlink because you want this to actually go to the web. And before you click OK in a hurry, don't forget to check the color because you get to specify what color that hyperlink will be in. And I believe it defaults to black. So I don't want a black hyperlink in this case because I'm on a dark background. I want some contrast. We'll go with a white hyperlink, or I'm sorry, QR code. And then once I click OK, boom, the QR code is generated. So that if you were to scan that on this stream right now with your phone, that should work. It should go to, if that site exists, it should go to that site for you to look at this chair. All right, or at least it will attempt to. All right, so next up, let's see, we did hyperlinks. Let's move on. And let's scroll down here. And actually, I want to do buttons. Let's do buttons next. There's a whole buttons and forms panel, and the buttons and forms panel is designed to convert objects into buttons or form types or form fields. So for example, let's say that I draw we'll use we'll make it simple. We'll draw a rectangle, and in that rectangle, I'm going to I could have just used a text whatever. I'm going to just call this button for simplicity's sake. And we will center that, and we will go to my text frame options and we will vertically center it. So instead of aligning to the top, we'll vertically center it as well. And then we'll give it I'm just doing this on the fly here. We'll give it a black stroke around it. And now we have this thing called button. So that was, you just saw me create it. It's nothing but a frame with some text in it that says the word button with a black stroke and no fill. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And no fill. All right, so now when I click on that, the buttons and form things activate. When it's not selected, then it kind of grays out saying, what do you want to do? So when I click on that, it says, well, what do you want this to be? So I could say, make it a button, make it any one of these other things. Now you'll notice that button is above the word PDF only. So that means a button can be used for anything. It could be used for publish online. It could be used for PDFs. It could be used for anything. But the things underneath PDF only, as you might have guessed, only work inside of a PDF. So just keep that in mind that if I make a list box, for example, no one's going to see that if I publish the document online. They won't be able to interact with it. But if I make a button, everyone will be able to interact with it. All right, so with that said, do I always design without the bounding boxes? No, I don't. This just happens to be in preview. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So what she's referring to is if I hit the letter W, that shows you all the bounding boxes. And I absolutely use it that way. I just had it in preview mode, which is hitting the letter W without any text selected, and you're in preview mode. So no, I don't always do it this way. I mostly do it with the bounding box showing. All right, so anyway, let's go back to the buttons here. And if I turn that into a button, then the next thing I can do is I can decide a couple of things. I can decide, first of all, the name of it. What's this button called? And button 1, button 2, button 3 gets old really fast because you won't remember what does what. So give it a real name like, for lack of creativity, Adobe. All right, so we'll give it the Adobe name. And then the event. What what makes this button work? In other words, is it on release or tap, meaning once you tap it, it does something and let go, or click and let go, or on click, the minute you click it, even though you haven't let go, it does something, or you roll over it. And again, keep in mind, roll over, roll off, those have implications because there's no such thing as rolling over on a smartphone or a tablet. You have rollover on a computer because you're using a mouse and a pointer. So you got to remember, what is this for? If it's for publish online and someone might be using this on their phone, they would never be able to roll over this on their phone. So just keep those things in mind. And then, of course, these are some PDF specific things. All right, so if I say on release and tap, which is the default, then I can say what the action or actions will be. So, and here are all your choices. So go to a destination, go to the first page of the document, go to the last page of the document, go to the next page of the document, go to a previous page, go to a specific URL. So again, we can turn the object and go to hyperlinks and make it a URL, or we can just use it as a button that when they click it, it goes to a URL, same thing. Show and hide buttons in forms. So you can use this to show and hide specific things in your document. And even though it says hide, show and hide buttons, well, anything can be a button, even though it doesn't have a function. So you can use this really to do some interactive design. So when people click on it, it shows different things in your document or hides different things in your document. So it's really, you can really do some fancy things by just with the show and hide feature. Play a sound or play a video that you've imported. Obviously, you'd have to have the video and sound to play, and then you would pick which one you wanted. And then now notice the next category. This is for Flash, SWF is Flash format, or EPUB only. So now if you were saying go to a page, well, that would be different than go to this destination if I were going to publish this as an EPUB. So forth and so on. And PDF, these are PDF only things. So those are all the things that a button could do. So for example, I could say go to a destination. I could tell it which document, in this case, the current document. I could tell it what the destination is, which I haven't set yet, but I could set a destination and have it go to it. Or let's kill that one. And let's do this instead. Let's just say go to the next page, just for something simple. All right, so go to the next page, and then you can also control what the zoom level will be. Inherit the zoom that's already set, or go to the next page, but fit it in window. Go to the next page, but go to an actual size, so forth and so on. So I'm going to say fit in window. All right, and then if you wanted to make it fancier, if it's on a mouse and you want to roll over and have it change color or be bold or whatever, then you can specify what those things would be on rollover. So that's, in a nutshell, what a button does. And once you make it a button, it will have a dashed line around it, so you will know that it's a button. Otherwise, you would see the black frame. So that's just letting me know that it's a button in case I forgot that I had already made that one into a button. All right, is there any way to, yep, we did that one. Okay, just making sure I didn't miss anything here. All right, got that. Amy, better late than never. All right, so now let's do something cool. Let's say that we're going to play around with object states now. Now we have these three different, I guess, sleeping bag suit things, these sleeping bags. We have these three different sleeping bags and their names down here and everything. And of course, we see all three. But what if it were 30 or 300? 300 is probably too many. Let's say 30. And you don't have room on your page to show all 30 at the same time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this into an interactive object that shows one at a time and lets the user navigate through them. So to do that, I'm going to select this one. Now they're grouped together, so I'm just going to right click and say ungroup, meaning separate them. And the other caveat I will say is that these were designed with transparency. So these are like cut out. So that means that you can see through the background. If I were doing what I'm about to do, what I'm about to show you in real life, I would not cut out the background. And here's why. I'm going to select all three of these. And when I select all three, now that they're ungrouped, I'm going to actually align them So they're all three on top of each other. So instead of it being 1, 2, 3 separated, I'm going to just put them all together as one. And I'm just going to use the alignment feature to do that. So that's all I did. I just said align on the centers. It put them all together. And the reason I said I would not have the background cut out is because you can now see the beige one behind the purple one because there's no background on the purple one. So just a note that if you're going to do what I'm about to show you, having a background is actually better than no background. All right, next up. Now that I got all three smushed together, one on top of the other, while they're still selected, I'm going to go into my object states. And I'm just going to create a new object state. So in other words, convert the selection to a multi-state object. So we just click. And Maurice, you're jumping ahead. You'll find that answer out in a minute. All right, I'm going to just say create a multi-state object. And of course, we would name this multi-state object. So we would call it sleeping bags. All right, so now that we've named it, now that we got this multi-state object, it's got the little checkerboard, or not checkerboard, but the little dash line around it. We know that's an object now. What do I want to do with it? Well, right now, it's a multi-state object that has no controls. No one could do anything with it. So if I publish this online, you'd just see the purple one. You'd never see the rest. So what I want to do is I want to give it some navigation. So I want to put a button on the left and a button on the right that navigate so the user can click through back and forth through all three or all 30 or all 300, how many ever there are. Sorry, my scroll mouse I hit it and it does what I told it to do. It scrolled over there. All right, so next up, to do that, we're going to go back to our buttons. And again, I told you anything can be a button. So you can go draw a button in Illustrator. You can go make a button in Photoshop. You can go make a button out of anything and bring it in, and that could be your button. But if you're button challenged, meaning you don't have the design skills to draw buttons, there's a hidden set of buttons in InDesign. And I say hidden because you don't see them anywhere else. Except when you bring up buttons and forms, you go to the flyout menu. This will be worth the price of admission alone. And you say, show me the sample buttons and forms. And boom, you get this panel of sample buttons and forms that you otherwise would not see. Let me close properties panel. There we go. All right, so, and with that, I scroll through, I can say, ooh, I want a nice blue button. I'll just drag it out. And I want a nice right blue button. I'll drag that one out. And then I can close my samples and sample buttons and forms. And I can get these aligned. Hopefully, put that one there. Smart guides will keep them aligned for me. And now those buttons do something, but they don't do what I need them to do. If I click on the left button, it just goes to the previous page. So that's what that button comes in by default already set up to do. I need it to do something else. So I'm going to delete this action, go to previous page. Just remove it. And instead, I'm going to give it an action that goes to the previous state. If I go to the previous state, is that the one I want? Yeah, previous state of that object. What object? Sleeping bags. So it says, well, there's only one multiple state object, so it picked that one. But if you had 4, 5, 6 slideshows or whatever, then you could just pull down the menu and pick the one you want this one to control. You can even have it stop at the first state. Otherwise, it will just keep cycling through. Same thing here. Remove that one. Yes. And have this one go to the next state of the multiple state object called sleeping bags. All right. So now that is, I'm proud to be button challenged unite. All right. You're making me laugh, Antoinette. All right. So anyway, we've got that all set up and ready to go. Now, before we go test that, we can go test it now. Why not? Let's go test it. So how do I want to test it? I want to publish this online. I'm on page 7, so I only want to do this one page. And we're going to just say publish online, which I click the button at the upper right corner up there. This publish online button is flashing right there. And I want to do page 7, just so we can see what it does. And publish new document, the catalog, blah, 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 publish. Why not the whole thing? Because I just want to test this. All right, and it'll be quicker if I just do one page. All right, it's done. I can view the document online, give that URL out to anyone I want to be able to see this. Here's page 7, and boom, it works. Clicking through my multiple state object like a boss. All right, that does nothing because that would go to the next page or previous page, whatever I set that to. There is no next page. So clicking that button does nothing. It amuses people because it's a button. All right, so that worked. Let's pop back over to InDesign. Let's close this for now and keep going. All right, and as, who was it? Maurice was asking, he saw this, he could feel it coming. Here's a form ready to happen. What do we want to do with this? Well, these are just text in boxes and circles. So there's nothing form here. There's nothing that makes this a form. So Rochelle's saying, yes, that's how they do that. Bill says, okay, great, thanks. All right, so now I want this to actually be fillable. Let's see. Oh, okay, I might have did that one already. Yeah, I did that one already. So let's go to address. And type, I want that to be a text field. And of course we would name it, so we don't know what text field 2 is later on, or we wouldn't know what text field 2 is later on, and that's it. It's just, I made it a field, it will be a field. What's new, as of October though, is you also now have the ability, this section down here, you have the ability to control what font that is being typed in. Before it was just a default, you had no control over it. Now you can say, hey, I would love for them to be able to type this with Myriad Pro. 12 point, 10 point, black, green, orange, whatever. All right, so you get the point. I would just keep going and making each one of these a field. These are just boxes. There's nothing special about them. I can make this one smaller. I can make that a list box, so I could list all the states if we were just talking about US. And now what I want to do is get down here to the one that I'm going to do for sex. So sex is going to have 3 choices, male, female, or other. And what I'm going to do first is, that's why I only drew one circle, because I want this to be a single choice. Either you're going to pick male, female, or other. And if I make it, if I would have drew 3 separate circles, then technically it would be 3 separate things. I'm going to take one, make it what I want, then duplicate it. Here's why. Because I'm going to turn this one into a radial button. And here's the difference between a radial button and a checkbox. A checkbox is, it could be 1, 2, or 3 choices. It could be all 3, or any 2, or any 1. A radial button is only one choice. So either you pick 1, or pick 2, or pick 3, or pick 4, or pick 5, whatever your choices are. So if I turn that into a radial button, and I call it gender, sex, whatever. Gender is probably a more appropriate name, but let's say we call it sex for the sake of example. What I want to do now is just simply, and I'll zoom in on that a little bit more. All right, so it made the radial button, but now what I want to do is just simply hold down the Option or Alt key and duplicate it. Because if you duplicate it, it will recognize that it's a radial button with 3 instances and therefore only let the user pick one of them. So if you want the user to only pick one thing, then make it a radial button. If you want the user to be able to pick multiple things, make it a checkbox. All right, so now it looks like they're all filled in, but trust me, it works. And you won't have to trust me because I'm going to export it right now. So File, Export. We're going to do PDF Preset. Actually, are we going to do PDF Preset? No, we're not going to do PDF Preset. We're going to do an export. And I'm just going to make it Adobe PDF Interactive, because again, this will default to the interactive options. And we're just going to say, we're going to call this P7. And when it opens, and we're going to save it out to the desktop. There we go. So we're going to open that and save it. And that brings up this dialog box. And just do page 7 and default view, view after opening, so forth and so on. And let's click export. Yes, I know about the color shift. All right. So it's doing that. It opens up the PDF and I can type into these fields. Great. We zoom in on that. Oops, sorry. There we go. I can type into the fields that and there's the different font choice I gave it. I'd probably want to make the font smaller than 12 point now, so I'd go back and make that change. And then the same thing, male or female or other, but not any 2 or more. So again, 2 or more, check boxes. 1 only, radio button. And of course, then you get to design what you want these to be. All right, back to InDesign. So once again, if I wanted to make those changes, I'd go back here and say, oh, no, 12 points too big. How about auto? Ooh, I like that. Make it the right size no matter what the size of the field is. Auto again, and any other changes I want to make. All right, so now back to Maurice's question. Maurice asked a very important question. Well, remember, he asked the question about form fields. Where are the form fields? They're under PDF only. So he asked, well, would they work if you do a publish online? I'm going to guess no, but let's try it. All right, let's update the existing document. We don't have to make a new one. Page 7, publish. Yes, we want to replace the old one. Keep the same link. Doing it, 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 done. View document. And nope, nope. And see how it messed up here? It put all 3 in because it's just looking at that as a static document. It did not look at that as interactivity. So you would have a version that you would make as a PDF that would have this form field, and a version that you would make for interactive online that could have this, but not this. So you could turn that off as a layer, turn that off, or have just have a different layer or different layout or alternate layout if you wanted to do a bunch of things that you did not want. So I might have this on a layer called PDF. And that way, all the things that only work on a PDF, I would put on that layer. That way, when I'm doing publish online, turn that layer off. All my PDF things, my PDF only things go away when I do a publish online. All right, and this button still doesn't work because we didn't export the rest of the pages. All right, let me make sure I got everything. We did the QR code, we did the multiple state objects, we did the buttons, we did the hyperlinks, we did the workspace, we did forms, we did it. That is how you design an interactive document in InDesign. So, can the fillable info be sent somewhere? Absolutely, Cindy. You would finish that process in Acrobat. Acrobat will let you designate what the submit button would do. Does it collect data? Does it email a form? Does it do whatever? So yes, absolutely. You're doing the design part in InDesign, which great. Lets me design the fields and make the form look pretty. And then once you're done designing it, export the PDF, open that PDF in Acrobat, and then assign a submit button and what that submit button would do. All right. I don't see any more questions over there. Let me make sure I got all the questions over here. And if so, we will call it a day. All right. Okay, I think I got everybody. And if not, sorry, I missed your question. Oh, what about colors for bags? What about the colors? Oh, you mean, oh, down there. I would have actually made those part of the object state. So I just left them because I didn't select them. But I would have, when I grouped them together, when I selected the bags and made them all into one stack, I would have also done the same thing with the names. Maybe I would have grouped the names to the bags first. That way, when they come together, the bags and the names stay with each other. Then I would have had the names applied, the colors applied. If I have an interactive pizza restaurant document, you're hungry, send it to you. That'd be cool. All right. So with that said, everybody, thanks for watching. Those are great questions and great feedback on things that we're still working on that could always be better. So with that said, cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.